My name's Alhalabi, and this is Uncommon.
Uncommon is a production focused on the why of business, media, and marketing. It's made by my team at Neural, a digital agency for challenger brands and talent. To learn more, just visit neural.com. That's NEURALLE.com. All right. My guest this week, Leo. Welcome. Founder of LGT Digital. I was looking for dirt on you from Ali.
Yeah.
He didn't have much.
Okay.
Apparently you're squeaky clean.
Yeah.
The three things I had here were, what's this Friday meme? How do you know Jerry Sakis? And how obsessed with Dragon Ball Z are you? Which one do you want to pick?
I'm happy to go through all of them. I don't want to. I feel like I'm avoiding anything. So the Friday then thing, I actually copied Ellie. Ellie, I just love. I think Ellie from Saucy has the best energy that there's just no one who matches him. To be quite honest, and he started doing this whole Friday pump up stuff, and then I did it back at him, and then we just started going. It's Friday, then every single Friday. Yeah. And it's some people. It's just what people look forward to. As far as Jerry goes, I met Jerry through a mutual contact, and Jerry's just like essentially the epitome of what you want to aspire to be like as an entrepreneur, especially because he's from Melbourne. You know, it's not like he had things given to him. He built just take a look at what place I do in public. So, and what he's doing is it's essentially what entrepreneurs aspire to do. So he's just a really inspiring figure. And your last question was Dragon Ball Z. Obsessed with it. Like I don't have tattoos of it. I'm not like I don't go to the anime conventions or whatever they call them. But my favorite scene of cinematic TV history was Gohan turning Super Saiyan 2 in the Cell Saga. Like I'll always go back and watch that. And Dragon Ball Z, over time I've actually realized the reason why I loved it so much is because I connected to it on a deep level, and I think that's why people do. It's not just it's not like an anime. It's this idea that we all have this inner potential that can come out at any time. Like Gohan had when he turned Super Saiyan 2, and it's like people knew that he had it and he wasn't sure if he did, and then it came out and it made me go, maybe I've got this like inner potential that one day will come out.
It's the classic like hero's journey.
Yes.
Yeah. The way Jacob and I were chatting about anime earlier, because there's like what was the show, Jacob, that you mentioned?
It's like a anime based on bouldering.
Oh, yeah, there's because I've just started bouldering down in Port Melbourne.
Bouldering?
It's like where you climb like a wall that's maybe 2 meters high. Rock climbing.
Oh, cool,
no harness.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
But no, the famous anime clip of like the big monolithic.
Neo Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
I'll link it to you after.
Yeah.
It's like a famous. It's like a bit of a meme. It became a bit of a meme for a while.
Very neat.
But yeah, I remember Cheese TV. Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I remember that.
Pokemon. Yeah. I like Pokemon, but Dragon Ball Z was clearly my favorite because I was doing karate at that age.
Yeah, same with me. Like I was always in martial arts, stayed in martial arts my whole life. So obviously I related to Dragon Ball Z more than Pokemon.
Yeah, and that innate, like, I can do it type attitude definitely became a thing. On Jerry, it's so funny. You don't realize how much of a node of connection that guy is until you like connect with him through whatever means. I remember when we did his interview for our podcast, it was probably one of the most pivotal interviews. Yeah. There was just people that all of a sudden either started following or wanted to be on the show that were connected to him. Yeah. He's definitely like the king of sort of like the WOG entrepreneur mafia in Melbourne. Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
No. I think he's even transcended that, to be honest with you. He's transcended. He's just the king or really great, incredible example of just an entrepreneur who started with nothing, and within 8 years now has has a public company that I've got no doubt will be $1 billion company one day.
It's going to be massive. My main goal in life is to not be forced to sell my PlaySide shares.
Yeah.
So, childhood, you grew up in a Syrian family.
Yes.
What's your earliest memory?
Earliest memory. We went when I was young. We would go to Syria often. Earliest memory as a child. I've just got like flashbacks of things that are taking place. Probably from my childhood, I remember the trips that we did to Syria. I remember, the awesome vibes that you get from playing in the streets, and we used to have a computer shop next door that you'd play COD. Sorry, the COD didn't even exist. Counter-Strike, man. To play Counter-Strike. That is like embedded in my memory. I used to always go and
like an internet cafe.
Yeah, like an internet cafe, but I get flashbacks of that. But
what city in Syria would you guys go back to?
We lived in a place called Jaramana, which is on the outskirts of Damascus, the actual capital city, or like 15 minutes away from the capital city.
Right.
But my childhood, if I look back on my childhood memories, it was based around karate.
Okay.
That's where all my memories are. So my dad put me in karate when I was 4 years old. And I still remember like my first session coming to my dojo, that I ended up staying at for like 12 years. I still remember my first day there. And it wasn't even like at a proper dojo. It was at, at schools, how there's assembly halls. It was at one of those ones where like the indoor place and wooden floors, and I was watching these people do karate, and I was such a timid kid, but karate was like my earliest memory as a child, going to competitions, and then I became very good at it. My dad dropping me off at training, me crying because I didn't want to go, and he'd be like, "You're going to thank me for it one day."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and he didn't let me quit, and I thank him for it now. So,
which suburbs did you grow up in? Western, north, east, south?
In the southeastern suburbs. So we Noble Park, Dandenong, those.
We were probably, those areas. Although you're a little bit younger than I am, we probably went to similar competitions. I remember going to like competitions out Noble Park direction, maybe further in the eastern suburbs.
Yeah.
I grew up in like Bentley.
Oh, okay.
But I remember, when I was like 13, 14, I had to make a decision on what I would do because I was doing too much. I was doing karate. I remember this so well. Zaishin Do. Dominic was the sensei.
Yeah.
In Center Road and Bentley. And I had to tell him that I had to leave or continue with soccer.
That's so funny because
my dad gave me the option.
My thing was the exact same. It was karate and soccer.
What did you choose?
I chose karate.
Okay, I chose soccer because I was better at it.
Yeah,
I think it probably. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah,
it definitely helped me socialize soccer more, just because of the school. Because we moved out of Bentley, we moved to Brighton.
Yeah,
and. That was like a thing that allowed me to gain new friends, soccer.
Yeah.
Karate, I'm not sure that it would have, but I do regret being forced to make that decision. Yeah. I know I did boxing for a while, but I've never really gotten back into. I've tried BJJ and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, same. I recently started. I've got a bit of a as I've grown older, and my mentality started to move from being just like a boy to a young man to an actual, like what I would classify as like a man mentality, which you can get crucified nowadays for even saying the word, but crucify me, go for it. I began to go, all right, like I tap into that side. Like I want to be a provider. I want to be a protector. I want to be a real masculine, traditional type man. And I started thinking about the idea of protection. Protection goes beyond just physical protection. Obviously, there's multiple ways that you can protect those that you love and yourself. But on the physical side of things, like I was, I had karate, and then I moved into kickboxing. I competed professionally. So I was very confident with like my stand-up, with my striking, as my ability as a boxer, as a kickboxer. So I'm like, if anything was to happen, I'd be able to defend myself quite well. But then I'm like, if I get taken to the ground by anyone who knows what they're doing, BJJ wise, he'll kill me. He'll break my arm. Like he'll literally kill me. Like choke me out. There's no tapping in the street. You get choked out until you die, or he'll put me to sleep. Or when he puts me in an arm bar, he'll break my arm. And BJJ is one of those things where like you could be a real big, muscly, strong guy who benches 250 kilograms, but if you go up against someone who's like half your weight and knows what they're doing, technique wise, where to place their hands and, you know, how to, you know, put their feet on your hips, whatever it is, they're going to kill you. You actually don't stand a chance. It's not even a question of whether you're going to be strong enough to push them off. Like it just won't happen because of the way they break you down when you're on the floor.
Well, fights always, like, I know you do judo, right? Yeah. Like if you think about, and you see fights in a street environment, it's not even like, oh, I'm too close. It always breaks down 80%, to grabbing
80%,
people.
80% end up in a grappling situation. That's actually the statistic.
And also with that, I think in a lot of situations, one person wins the grappling situation or is overpowered by a group, and then people start, stomping, kicking.
So that's why striking is better for multiple opponents, and you need it because if you end up,
you need to keep distance.
If you're against multiple opponents, you're not going to take one person down because you're going to get your head stomped on. But if you're in a one-on-one situation, the 80% of those end up in some sort of grappling exchange. So that's why I recently was like, okay, well, if I want to be the best protector I can be and tap into that side that really helps me stay at my peak, really tap into that innate feeling that I want to have to be a protector, I got to learn how to defend myself on the ground. So I joined a BJJ gym, and it's been incredible. Like you get addicted to it. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Absolute MMA for a while.
Yeah, got
very addictive. I am definitely addicted to bouldering. My view is like I'll build that up, and then as I have more time, I'll go to. There's a mutual friend of Ali and I, James, who actually introduced the two of us. He goes to Dabine Jiu-Jitsu in St Kilda. So I want to go there because we just moved to Balaclava.
Oh, cool.
So I want to check that out. But and also with bouldering, you build up a lot of strength.
Yes.
It's actually fucking amazing how strong I've gotten just from doing it for 2 months.
Yeah. And the best thing about like even the fact that you've had experience in BJJ is even if you haven't done it for years, like someone who has done it for 6 months has a significant, overwhelming advantage against someone who hasn't. Like you will probably be able to defend yourself against 98% of like all people you come 100%. Across just because you've done 6 months of it. And then you go, well, what if the other person knows BJJ? The chances of two martial artists actually ending up in a fight is actually very low because they both have the discipline to avoid fights. Like that's the first thing that we do is we try to. So if you've got two people who have the mentality that I'm trying to avoid a fight, chances are the people you're going to end up getting in a situation with is someone who's an attacker and aggressor and doesn't actually have the discipline to be to go, all right, fighting is the wrong thing to do.
And also those two individuals know that it's a bad outcome. It's the worst possible outcome.
I'm 26 years old now and I've been in martial arts my entire life. I have never, not once, had an issue with someone where like especially as a grown up, I did maybe when I was like 11 years old. I hit a kid at school. Like
you're like 15.
Yeah, it was just. I was literally. I was 11 years old. I remember I hit a kid or I hit one of the. But I've never like even as a teenager at school, as an adult, ever had a road rage incident or at a club. Or I've just never had an issue with someone to the point where it escalated to us actually just punching on because I dislike him. I've jumped in fights 100%, but it's been to defend my friends who don't have the discipline to not get into issues like I got into you get into fights at whether indoor soccer or at clubs or at bars.
Indoor soccer
is terrible, and I jumped in because my friends were getting hit like the other sides in, so we ran in. But those things to take place, but nothing where I'm like I actually have an issue with someone. But the reason why it's actually happened is not because I haven't been put in those situations. It's just because I don't look for it and I avoid it. I have no problem with looking away if someone's like trying to hold eye contact with me.
There's definitely people who are looking for it when they've been drinking as well.
Mate, if you knock into me and you act like a tough guy, I'm like, sorry, mate, I knocked into you.
Yeah, I say sorry to people all the time.
Like, what ego am I going to try and prove it to?
Yeah.
Like, if I've fought people in my gym, or I've sparred people who are like world champions and Australian boxing champion, like, and who are bigger guys, and why do I need to prove myself to you? Like, I don't need to prove myself as a big tough guy and to put you down and put you in your place. And plus, you're not even going to remember me tomorrow. So it's all in my head. Are you not into me? No big deal, mate. An issue occurs. Let's actually calm it down. Just relax, boys. We don't want no problems, because there's some serious consequences. Like, you hear stories of someone, you hit someone hit their head and they died, and that person went for manslaughter, and they like. I just don't ever put aside the fact that I'll go to prison, or you'll get you'll get charged and you'll have a criminal record. Like, over what? Like, I had someone looked at me the wrong way. We exchanged words, and now he's dead.
Yeah, or you knock shoulders,
or we knock shoulders, or he cut me off on the road, or whatever, and now this person is paralyzed. This person's can't work. Like, how am I going to even be able to live with myself over that? Like, so it's just never worth it.
With the martial arts thing, because that's like a question I like to ask people, is like a memory, not a memory, but like a lesson that you've learned directly or indirectly. Like, I was going to touch on the fact that your dad had you tell the story of your dad opening his wallet and showing the last $5 that he had. But I guess I'm curious, like, why do you reckon he encouraged you to do martial arts? Like, what was the lesson that he thought he was teaching you?
My dad's motivation was always, I want you to live the life that I always wished that I did as a young kid. Like, I want to give you everything that I wish that I had. And he would always say, I want you to avoid making the mistakes that I made. That was always like his motivation. I've heard those words so many times. So I think he always just saw, he would say to me, this is what he would say. He would go, you have to be strong up here, you have to be strong here, and you have to be strong in here. So you have to be smart, switched on. You also have to have you have to be brave. You can't be a coward. Like, there's people who can fight, but they're cowards. Like, they'll run, or they can't stand up, or they can't act when it matters. And then you have to actually be strong here if anything was to happen. So my dad would put me into martial arts because I think it would develop my character. It would allow me to be strong here, to be strong here, to be strong here, for those exact same reasons. But he would always say to me, I would say, like, why am I doing this? Like, do I really need it? And he would say, all it takes is one time, one moment where you knowing what you know because of your training could be the difference between your life or death, or the life of death, or the well-being of someone that you love. Like, is it worth it to do 15 years of martial arts training for one moment where you defend the people that you love from possible harm? Yeah, it's worth it. It's because the consequences is bad. And I think he grew up in a much more dangerous environment than what we live in now. Like, everything's safe right now,
Life's easier. It's
more safe. There's some serious consequences when you do bad. But he grew up in Syria, so he was always always in dangerous environments, fights all the time, problems all the time. And I think maybe he just wishes he knew some martial arts,
And so he never did it?
He did it, but, he didn't have the support, like, of his dad. And it just wasn't common then to really invest into your kids. Like, you would have kids back in like, the family structure he grew up in is you have kids, and then kids get to work at like 9 to 10 years old. Like, you're very independent. You barely see them. They go out in the street. They come home at the end of the day. There isn't that... they're just pumping out kids, and they have their own motivations for doing so, whether it's like to carry their name, to build their legacy, to invest into their future. Even it's like, it can be quite selfish as well, because it's like they want to have sons so that he feels proud, when he walks in. There is no other idea that I'm going to invest into my children and make them the best that they possibly can. It's like, no, you get, the mother pumps them out, and then it's like, all right, now you've got your family, and you get raised by the harder. Harder in Arabic is your street, your neighborhood. The neighborhood raises you. You get slapped by the neighbor, and your dad will never say anything about it. Like, if you get disciplined by, like, now, if someone even like raises their voice at your child, it'll be World War III. Back in Syria, like, if my dad was being a menace in the streets, and then his dad's friend or the neighbor saw him doing something wrong, he could slap him, and get away with it. Like where the whole neighborhood's raising the children, you know, so
make them sociable. Yeah. I mean, this is a unique thing to like 3 generic cultures, like Greek culture, Arabic culture, and sort of Japanese, Korean peninsula culture is like public and private face. You know, like you have these differences of what you display in public versus in private. However, there are certain scenarios like the raising of children where it is okay for people to like impose themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember that. I remember like, because my dad, he wanted to be Aussie. And so
he wanted you to be
He wanted to be Aussie.
Oh, he wanted to be
living
Aussie.
here. And
what nationality?
Greek Cypriot.
Cool.
So he played AFL and all that, and he didn't know what to do when it came to me wanting to play soccer. So he just sent me to a Greek club, and it was a massive culture shock for me because like I had Greek friends, but I didn't really grow up in a heavily Greek family. I had an Australian mother. I often think that like your mother defines whether like culturally where you sit in life, and also like if you learn a second language, if she speaks it to you.
Interesting.
Because the first 5 to 7 years you spend most of your time with her.
True.
And my dad was barely at home; he was working. So, there's one thing that stands out so much. We're teasing a kid, like as a group, and the father came in and just went mental. Like I just remember there was such a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Because like it was something like that was happening on the field in training, and he like came in and like was trying to prove to everyone like, see, there's always like a bigger person.
Yeah.
And no one really like jumped in and did anything.
Yeah.
They just sort of let it happen.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting.
I wonder if it's better that way or it's worse, you know, because, you know, the reason why, say, you know, my dad wouldn't get upset if someone else told me off is because he prioritizes me being respectful over his own ego that someone else told off his kid. So he would look at me and be like, I'd be like, Dad, like this guy yelled at me, this man yelled at me, or he slapped me. He'd be like, I'm more, whatever his name, so uncle, because anyone who's like an elder is called uncle. It's like, if you weren't disrespectful, he wouldn't have done that. So prioritize being respectful. Don't come to me complaining. That was really the attitude of being raised in the harder. Like I was born and raised here, but I lived there for a year and a half when I was 10 years old. So there wasn't. If one of my dad's friends like yelled at me, there's no chance my dad would say anything. He wouldn't, because they don't take it personal that way. Like my children don't offend them or hurt them. It's like, what did you do? And I'm like, oh well, you know, I jumped on his car or I was being loud or I did something I shouldn't have done. And it's like, don't do that again. Yeah. Be respectful.
Yeah.
You know, like he prioritizes me being a respectful child over, you know, stepping into, you know, like if it takes someone else to tell you off for you to be respectful, then be respectful. Don't do it again. Like honestly, that was the attitude. We used to get yelled at all the time. Yeah.
I remember like, you know, you would have friends who have scary parents.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was one of those types.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I remember this friend of mine, Tyrone, I still keep in contact with him to this day. We were mates since we were like 12, 13, no, even earlier, maybe 11.
Yeah.
And he's still to this day, because he lives in Sydney now, every time we catch up, he has this laugh about this time that my dad was telling off my brother Hayden, and Tyrone goes, yeah, Hayden, like he was sort of like jumping in. And my dad goes, shut up. This has got nothing to do with you. I'm going to take you home. And he's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
He threatened to take him back. I'm pretty sure he took him home.
Yeah. Oh, well, when our old school parents threaten something, they do it.
Yeah.
I remember, this is actually a real true story. My uncle, who would have been not my dad's brother, but the husband of my dad's sister, when we were in Syria, I was playing really rough with his daughter, and I think we were playing a game where we slapped hands. I slapped her hands so hard. I was being a bully and I wasn't controlling my strength as a guy, as a man, right? And I think I was on a bit of a power trip because I was really hurting her, but it didn't cross my mind that it was wrong, right? And she started crying and he was there and he slapped me.
Wow. Yeah.
He he's just like, he saw her crying and he just went, boom, slapped me in the face. And I'm like, I went and cried to my dad, and my dad's like, first of all, don't cry.
Yeah.
don't cry. Like that's straight up. Don't come to me with tears in your eyes, crying like a little girl. I know there's like so much going on. It's like you got to be careful what you say and all this sort of stuff. But man, look, it's just made me who I am, and I'm actually I'm happy you did that. Don't cry. What did you do? Yeah. I'm like I hit her really hard, and it's like, so you hit a man's daughter and you made her cry and he slapped you. Don't do that. Don't do that again. Like, do you understand the correlation of what you did was wrong? But he didn't, I don't know if he had spoken to him privately, but I don't remember my dad got offended that he had hit me, because it's just that culture of like, we prioritize raising respectful people who respect each other, who don't make mistakes, who always fear authority and respect authority. We respect our elders. We don't just respect our parents. I don't just respect my dad. I respect any of my older uncles. Like my older uncles, my dad's brothers, I respect them as if they're my dad, because I had to. If I didn't, they would hit me too.
Yeah, right.
You know, like, so you just have, there's something beautiful about respecting the elders, and
it's just how it is.
Yeah, it keeps. I think it builds a really good foundation of society. But yeah, I don't know. It's debatable. There's so many pros and cons to everything, because Arab culture really isn't the epitome of a good society. Like, I wouldn't say it's great society. I actually really love the Western culture. Like, there's freedom here, freedom of thought, freedom of expression.
Anyone can be challenged.
Yeah, anyone can be challenged. Over there, like, if I challenge my uncle on an opinion, it's taken as disrespect, and so you end up being quiet, and you do things you don't want to do to keep people happy. And so
you can see so many pros more and cons. Extreme ways. Like, you look at places like Japan. I mean, their corporate culture is, in my opinion, completely a complete waste of resources, because you can't challenge the boss. The boss is the leader, which must be shown respect because they have tenure, and it has massive repercussions. But it also does. There's no doubt, like, society is way more uniform and organized, and so everything's different, right? I don't think I've ever found a perfect culture.
Yes, but the way I look at it is like, okay,
some are better than others.
Yes, I always think to myself in this way. I'm like, if I want to judge what's best, I always ask it from the point of view of like, where do most people want to live? And if you ask me to live in Japan or America, I choose the US.
100%.
And if you ask a lot of people in Japan who, if they would want the opportunity to like maybe live a beautiful life in Australia, or like in the Western cultures, a lot of people would take that opportunity. You give anyone in Syria the opportunity to move to Australia, they'll do it in a heartbeat. So where do people want to live? That's probably the culture that has the best net positive result. And it seems to be the Western societies.
So this is probably a good segue into the, early studies, the tutoring business.
Yep. So
this would have been a hard one in that you were 2 years into your civil engineering degree. You quit to start a business, which was in tutoring. I was just curious, in an alternative world where the family wasn't seeing financial hardship, which had driven you to leave your degree, what would your life have looked like, do you think? Do you think that it would have just been a matter of time before you gone into something else anyway, or it would have been prolonged? And because, as an example, I did my degree, I did accounting and finance because my dad was like, you can't be a trade. You've got to, you don't want to start a business. You want to do a profession, accounting, doctor, lawyer, et cetera, et cetera. I did that, did a grad roll over summer, hated it, and slowly started segueing into where I am now.
I probably would have ended up like going down your route. I would have ended up like how you ended up doing business. I would have ended up doing business because doing business is the closest thing to me living my true self, and it goes beyond things I can really like explain. it's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I just know. It's not even a question. I've always known. I've always just from the moment I began thinking consciously about like what my future would look like, it was always business. Because I think maybe I looked at people who are business owners and I'm like, that's the life I want to live. Very clearly, like I just identified it's what I want to do. And then when I actually got started in business, that's when I realized like I have so much love for this. Like for years, I made no money, did not pay myself a salary, was always constantly broke. And all I had to do was get a job and I would have been fine, but I refused to. I refused to because I would prefer to be broke, make no money, but just be a business owner than to make a decent income and work as an employee. Like it was just personally for me. So if we didn't experience financial hardships, I probably would have finished my degree and then eventually go down the same path I would have struggled a little bit and then taken certain steps to eventually get into business. Because I feel like it wasn't the hardships that made me a business owner. I was a business owner and the hardships just made me a business owner sooner.
And what is it about? Because I know that exact feeling of not having any money. I still don't get paid a salary. My salary is $1. If we well, I don't even have a contract. It's just, if things go well, I can get paid some money. But for me, it's like, I just love, maybe it's like social capital. There's definitely like a social capital component to it. Of being able to say that you are an owner or managing director. There's some of it's freedom. Like there's a lot of freedom associated with it. But there's no doubt, like my wife and I, we continually work. We're continually working late. 10:30 is a regular occurrence at the moment.
Would you continue to do that if you knew that you were never going to have a huge turning point with exponential growth? If this is all it was,
I'd say so. I guess my argument would be that it's just not in my personality to not have that moment, because I think I would learn, readjust, and make changes that allow us to get to that turning point. It's sort of like you had a piece of content where you have like growth spurts and then down periods, and I feel like for us as owners, we're sort of in one of those down periods, and then there'll be another up period. And you always have that. So no, I don't think I change it, because it feels so nice. I don't know what it is
to be a business owner. So
what is it for you?
So for me, it's the reason I am willing to like sacrifice and deal with all the what comes with being a business owner, not paying yourself, not making money, being broke for a long time, all that sort of stuff, is because I just have faith that eventually when it turns, it's just going to turn in such a massive way. Like Jerry's a good example of it. Like you go from
he did that for years.
Playside wasn't what it was in the first 3 years. I'm
pretty sure they put everything into that first game they made.
Exactly.
They could have gone broke.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you looked at Jerry in his first 3 years, you wouldn't see the Jerry you see now. But just 5 years later, 5 years, you know how short 5 years is?
Yeah, I know.
5 years. It's like it's a public company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He hit his turning point and it made everything worth it. So for me, I'm like, I'm going to continuously do this because I have faith I'm eventually going to hit my turning point. And when I do hit my turning point, I'm going to be able to achieve things and live a life that I just can't get from taking the safe route. Taking the safe route, I'll make good salary, good income, but I'm not going to go from 100 grand a year to 10 million. But business can do that. Business can do that. You know what I'm saying? It allows this opportunity for things to turn around in a massive, massive way. So that's my driving force. And then if I get to enjoy it along the way, then I've got like literally the perfect life. I genuinely wake up so freaking happy every day. I can't even like explain it.
Yeah. Well, the thing you mentioned before just reminds me of like, we look at like competitors and what we're doing, and I often just sit to myself and just go like, I'm just going to be here forever. Like I don't see it ever ending, if that makes sense. Like I don't know what I would do. I'd probably be bored. And I know that on you look at people like Warren Buffett, on a long enough timeline, things do go to zero for a lot of people. If you're willing to continue to improve, change, you're probably
Do you mean
going to
like
have
you'll look at competitors and then you'll see them progressing? Is that what you're saying?
not so much of like we're in a certain scenario, let's say, and things are harder than what they normally are.
Yeah.
And there's that friction, but I also see it as like that friction creates diamonds. They're the moments where a year from now you look back in hindsight and go, fuck, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, it's the whole idea of quitting and leaving it all and not doing it is, it's definitely there. It's there for all of us at different points, but it's never at a point where I would do it. I don't think. There's a question I want to ask you actually, because I was just chatting to Ali about this, and he said this to me. You've got no time for a girlfriend, right?
He said that.
Apparently,
yeah.
Apparently, you're 1,000% committed to being an entrepreneur. So that's what he said.
Not true,
you went through a period of your life where your drive was based on a survival element more than most, right? Yeah. And you've gone through a period which we'll get into about the different businesses, but clearly you've paid off your HECS. You've been able to buy some nice toys. M3 competition, I think it was.
M4, but not competition
M4?
though.
Okay.
No.
Things are starting to align. How do you see your personal why changing at the moment? How has that evolved as these things have come into your life?
I feel like where I'm at now was always it's like ground zero. Like I feel like you always feel like they haven't done anything. If I look back, my why was like surviving for sure, and is so that I understand your question. It's like, well, if your driving factor before was to survive, to get to ground zero, how are you staying motivated? What's your driving factor now that you're no longer fighting against, having nothing? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So I would say that my why or my driving factor has like transformed over time to just being from wanting to achieve certain things to wanting to just be the best that I can possibly be, to like see my full potential come. I know it sounds like really cliche, but it's just to see my full potential come about. And then also like, why not experience what would it be like
possible?
Yeah, what would it be like making $1 million in profit a year? Like, what would that actually be like? What would it be like making $10 million in profit a year? Like, what would that mean? What kind of life would that mean for the people around me? Like, that's how I think. Because I was actually chatting to my dad about this the other day. I'm like, as an individual, as a young man, I'm sorted in terms of like, I've got my nice car, I've got my office, got my business, got my income, I got this stuff. And if I was just focusing on me, I'm happy. Like, I don't have to not try to do anything crazy, but my goals are not even, I don't do what I do for myself. It's just all been about my family. So I've got like this pressure that I've put on myself to help everyone around me succeed and grow. And that's actually another great point to mention. Like, things will pop up over time that will you transform from like motivation to this is my life. So I don't need to be motivated. I have a team that relies on me. Like, if I don't show up, I'm directly impacting a team,
other people's
lives. Like, I want to grow my business so that I can make someone in my organization a CEO and a partner. I want to grow my business so that I can employ more people and develop an incredible working culture. I want our agents to be one of the best places to work at. I want to impact others. I want to grow my social following so that I can reach more people and help change a few more lives. I want to grow my business because I know that if I can grow my business and I can make more money, I can, retire my dad. I can buy them nicer cars. I can buy a home. I can make sure I can have them go overseas whenever they want. I can do that while simultaneously now building my own family with my partner and having kids. And also, like, there's always more. There's always more, right? But I don't need those things to be happy. But it's just what I'm working towards.
Yeah, like, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I just want to see my full potential come to life. I don't, and not to sound cocky, but I think I'm good enough to run $100 million company. Running $100 million company isn't going to be, it's just, why not? Like, I just don't, like, why not? Like, I'm here. I don't know when God's going to decide my time's up. Why not try to be the best I can possibly be? It's so cliche. I can't believe I'm saying this stuff. But honestly, like you're asking me now, I don't think about these things too often, to be honest, but I'm like thinking about it and reflecting on it now. Like, why do I do it? It's just because I go, all right, well, there's this other digital agency that's doing this. They're this big. Oh, I can do that too. All right, well, I can actually be the head of, I can be a pioneer in the metaverse and the NFT space. Why do I have to be a user of the products? You know, why do I have to be the guy buying? Why do I have to be the person buying NFTs? Why am I not the guy who's developing the platforms that people buy NFTs from, or develop a software, or launch my own NFT project? Or like, why can't I be those people? Why can't I be the pioneer? You know, like, people started internet companies. If we're in the metaverse and NFT world, I want to be the guy who started the internet company when the internet was new.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy using the internet. You know what I'm saying?
So it's like a combination of the beauty of life, the ability to just do shit, and that most of us have that potential. We just have to think of it that way. And also, in a way, developing your own, what did you call it? A harder?
Harder?
Like, you know, the neighborhood.
Oh, harder neighborhood.
Yeah. Because, you know, you think about it, you have staff, they're doing better in life. I have the same thing. We went from like a survival stage to paying ourselves a wage to having permanent staff to this idea now of like, how can we introduce profit participation? How can people buy a house?
Yes,
like that stuff.
Yeah. It's been the best feeling. You. I've had staff buy houses while working for me. Like, I've had staff buy cars. I've had multiple staff buy houses. I've had, you know, I've just, things have happened. I'm just like you this happened because you're employed in my business. This is so cool. Like, it's so freaking cool. Like,
because 5-6 years ago,
yes, you know what I'm saying? Like, it really is an awesome feeling, and I just want to do more of that. And the funny thing about it is, the more you focus on like things like that, the more you end up actually impacting, the more impact you create for others, the more success you end up experiencing. In a way. Like, if your focus isn't just money, and you focus on, like, you know, problem solving because you're passionate about it and wanting to like see your staff grow, then you end up having people who work better for you, work harder for you, more dedicated, more loyal towards you, and then that in turn makes you more successful.
Yeah, it's sort of, I know you've read a lot of Tony Robbins books, but when you go through that initial stage...
I shook his hand. He was on stage.
Really?
Big, massive hand, man. I just was like, Tony, and it was
the way he claps, man.
Unleashed the power within. It's just boom, boom. He walked past. He came and he ran. It was at Unleash the Power within, 5,000 people. He was running around and then he ran past me, and that's when you know you understand. You just understand. It's like this big monster of a human.
He's a massive hype beast.
And then he made people stand for 12 hours straight while he was standing, jumping up and down, singing. So not singing, dancing, you know, and he just talks with so much. And I'm like, wow. But anyways, I don't even know why I was saying that, but I love him. I do love him. Yeah.
Oh, so what it is, so there's he talks some crap, but he talks some absolute gold.
Oh man!
And one of the things
that out if you ever want to interview Tony Robbins, man, his team will pull this up.
Oh, no, of course, but no one's perfect, right?
Yeah.
But there is something that he's said of like the idea of giving is a key component of like something he talks about. In his instance, a lot of people that with their businesses, it's all about creating foundations and stuff like that. But there's something you get from giving people stuff in some way, whether it's through what you're creating, gifting, etc. Like, I don't know, there's something there, something with that.
It makes you live in abundance.
Yeah, you feel better for it.
You can't living in abundance. You know that whole idea of the secret and law of attraction. Living in abundance will attract abundance to you. The best way to live in abundance is to give.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Speaking of giving and giving to the metaverse, the other thing that Ali mentioned to me was what you're doing in NFT land. Now, I've dabbled. I missed Macy, or Mutant Apes, Bored Apes, for people who don't know, Punks. I fumbled on Doodles. I bought an Invisible Friend.
You bought it off the secondary? Or
Primary.
You minted it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Nice. Well done.
Tried to run a few projects with friends who'd been heavily involved. Both complete flops, but we learnt. And I'm fascinated by brands like Yuga Labs. They're the ApeCoin, I guess you could call it, listing or minting that recently came along. How are you, one, what is the project that you're looking at here? And how are you viewing this from like the perspective of how brands will change?
Talking about the NFT space is it's such a risk because I'm about to say things, and then in 6 months' time, the complete 6 weeks, the whole landscape's going to be completely different. Everything that I said is just not applicable. So it's for me. I won't touch on which projects that I've looked into, and I even think taking a look at like what projects or what to invest into, all that, it's like the complete wrong approach here. The fundamental like idea that I have is to be involved. To like Christian Gravius, a good friend of mine, he said, "I'm just happy to be here." That's his attitude, and Christian is massive in the NFT world, and that's my attitude. I'm happy to be here, and I want to pay attention and I want to learn. I'm investing into projects, but I'm also paying attention to the way they're marketing. I'm paying attention to the way they manage their Discords. I'm paying attention to why their project was successful and the other ones flopped. I'm in the NFT space because I'm paying attention to how Twitter works. Like I learned how Twitter works over the last 6 months. You know, how people actually, projects were minting out just because they were going viral on Twitter. Like it's a whole another ball game. Influencers on Twitter are very different to influencers on Instagram. There's, and then I'm just learning. I'm just constantly learning, and everything that I do in the NFT space has a learning focused mentality, not earning. So I don't invest into a project being like, I want to make money. That's a great bonus. I invest into a project being like, I want to feel what it feels like to be emotionally attached to a project, to analyze my thoughts, so that if I ever launch a project one day or I'm ever in this space, I actually know what it feels like to be an investor. And my story with the NFT space was I really began paying attention to it when Macy, so Mutant Apes, were 3.5 Ethereum. Jesus. They hit like 25 at their, or 30 at their max, 30 Ethereum. So the difference between 25 grand and like $100 and something thousand. And I flipped a coin in front of my entire team. I said heads. It landed on heads for me to buy. I had the Ethereum ready in my wallet. I spoke to Christian. Christian was telling me, bro, buy it, just buy it. He's like, they're undervalued, brother. Just buy it, brother. He was kept saying that to me. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, man, do I tie up 25 grand into like one project, or do I, try to like diversify my investment? And I didn't end up buying it. And like a month later, they're worth like 20 Ethereum. So that I fumbled the bag big time on Mutant Apes. And
a lot of us did.
A lot of us, yeah. And I'm not really like that concerned with being a part of the next project that ends up succeeding. I want to play a part in the space. I want to be an NFT builder in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a platform, a project, even what we're doing together with Ellie. In my first step into the NFT space, I haven't even announced it, so I won't like to say the details, but it's not gonna. It's essentially like the whole picks and shovels idea. Like, who made the most money during the gold rush? The people who sold the picks and shovels. What's the picks and shovels that I can sell in the NFT space? Well, we figured it out, and we've been working on it for like 4 or 5 months. So that'll be my first step into the space, and then I actually want to get involved, and I've been working to get involved to learn so that I can partake in the Web3 and NFT world. I want to be part of it, so I'm more focused on being a builder and a pioneer in it than a NFT investor, because I've looked at projects and everything. I've ticked every single box. This project was perfect. Like, so many times it's happened where I'm like, okay, it's got this tick, 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 and then I'll buy it, and then it flops.
It flops, yeah.
That doesn't. It's like walking into a world and then just floating because gravity no longer works.
Yeah.
None of right now in the NFT space, nothing. There is no being a good investor because nothing.
It's complete fucking luck.
There is no. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
Like nothing makes sense. And you look at the projects that are actually succeeding, nothing makes sense, man. It's just like
the only one that does make sense is what Yuga Labs has done.
What Yuga Labs is doing is you can't even say they're innovating. They're
applying real cognitive bias principles to the space.
They are
innovating. They've done it
can't say that.
Consistently well.
Yeah. What I meant by they are innovating, I have to be careful. I'm not saying they're not. They are the epitome of innovation, right? But it's just like they decide where things go. They're not innovating within a space that already existed. You get what I'm saying? Like innovation is going into the e-commerce space and then figuring out to do something better based on a pre-existing system. Yuga Labs isn't innovating within the NFT space. They are deciding where things go. They're right now so big. They acquired CryptoPunks and Meebits. Like
and,
what's
it was
BayC versus CryptoPunks, and now the guys who own BayC own CryptoPunks. Like that's a complete monopoly. Like whatever they're the Illuminati of the NFT space. Like, they decide where things go now. Yeah. So I look at them and I'm just like, all right, well, where are you guys going? And that's where the space is going.
For me, as a talent manager, it fascinates me. I look at guys like, I think it's Guy Osiri, who was Madonna's manager.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the talent manager.
He ended up,
And he's heavily involved, and he's a fucking genius when it comes to that stuff. But he's also
pain you when people just figure it out. And you're just like,
it's like, but that's because he's a node, right? He's like a Jerry or yourself. There are people who connect into him, and because of that, he was one of the first. Like, it's what you see on crypto Twitter all the time. We're also very early. We are so fucking early. We're like 1% of the population. It's just the beginning.
There are people that still till now that say, I haven't really looked into NFTs yet. Like, we're crypto. So early.
I get told by people still that Ethereum's like a Ponzi scheme. I just laugh. I just laugh at them.
Well, like a 5-minute video would solve that, because, if you look into what Ethereum is, even people in the crypto space have no idea what they're talking about. Like, they think Ethereum's a crypto. It's actually a currency. They go, Ethereum's going to be Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's a store of value. Ethereum is like... It's like the smartphone. It's like the platform that people build applications on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think people actually understand. Yeah,
it's the
you build dApps on it.
It's the resource. It's the best resource allocation system in the world.
Yeah,
it incentivizes people to make shit.
Yeah,
and it's it's kind of like it was like the App Store, right?
Yeah,
the App Store
that's what it is.
Really blew up the smartphone.
Yeah,
like, people talk about the smartphone, but it was actually the App Store. Because it gave all of a sudden this distribution to a bunch of people, and you could immediately have a business overnight.
Yep,
and you could just make shit.
Yep,
that's to me what Ethereum is. My view is like. And you see it now today on crypto Twitter, is like people talk not in US dollar terms, in Bitcoin terms. It's in Ethereum terms. I only look at one thing, and that is, am I accumulating more? It's two things, actually. Am I accumulating more Ethereum, and am I learning more about the space at large?
Yeah.
Even when I lose, there's plenty of projects. I'm doing it this weekend. I'm burning a bunch of NFTs to get the full capital loss. And I'm just like, well, I learned this from this project, and I learned this from this, and I got a few Ethereum from it, and whatever. Yeah. Like, it is what it is, and you keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what it is that you have later on. I might have to add you on Discord.
I'll tell you.
You better.
That's nothing crazy, but it just makes sense as a good first step for for myself and for the guys at Saucy. It's just a logical step for us to take, but it's going to be the first step of many. I just wanted to get involved in some way, shape, or form, and that's my focus. Get involved, be there. Don't exit out. Like, I'm not there because we're in a bull market, and I'm not leaving when we're in a bear market. I'm there for reasons because I actually genuinely believe we are heading towards a metaverse structure. I genuinely believe that everyone's going to own an NFT, every single person. Like in the same way that our parents would never think about downloading and having a Facebook profile, and now they live on Facebook, literally. I feel like same thing. Like people are going to go, I would never have an NFT, and never pay for an NFT. Well, eventually everyone will own an NFT. Even Instagram, like Mark Zuckerberg said, they're going to bring, like you're going to be able to buy NFTs directly from their platform.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of them are doing utility. Like utility is a very broad word. There's a lot of utility and
that's what
DAOs.
That's what annoys me so much about projects that like it's about hype. Like, you know, a lot of the female women focused projects, they sold out not for any utility. Their utility sucks. They sold out because they're a woman project, a woman led project. Because when Women and Weapons and World of Women, it hyped up Women and Weapons is also another good project. Like it's why did people mint out this particular woman-led project? Well, because World of Women is pumping right now. So people who can't afford World of Women are going to go and buy this project. They didn't buy it because you had good utility. Their utility sucks. Utility is like community and a merch store.
It's a
that's
media
not
project.
utility.
It's a media project. It's the art. That's why you buy Bored Ape and Mutant Apes. But there are things like in the Dopex sort of Arbitrum ecosystem, you can buy NFTs that only give you certain benefits for people who are integrating into the DeFi ecosystem, like boosters, easier access, better discounts for bonding, all that sort of stuff, which gives you a financial advantage. So therefore it has utility. So you're going to buy it and bid it up.
But Bored Ape has utility that go like because of their unique position.
Because of the IP.
It's not just because of but it's also because like when you're like, do you know how many projects have minted out because people said they've been founded by Bored Ape holders? Like
like it's project capital.
Literally, like you hold a Bored Ape, get two other people, start a project, and you'll make $3 million off the mints and people supported you because you're a Bored Ape holder.
Yeah.
That is utility because your Bored Ape monkey image that you bought for $300,000 just netted you $1 million.
Yeah.
And your partner $1 million and the other one $1 million. Like, that's utility.
You know, there's a good example of that recently. There was a Bank of America executive who just bought one.
Yeah, I actually saw the Twitter.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
The tweet? And so before that, it was all just nothing, just about Bank of America. And it blew up her profile.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure she's verified now.
Yeah.
That's another element of utility.
Yeah.
The social capital element shows that you are a real verifiable person. I wonder what that is. Is it because of the price? Is it because of the social relevance?
Well, if I told you, forget about everything Leo's done, right? If I told you I actually owned a Bored Ape, like I just announced it right
impressed, now. Yeah.
Like, what would you change this business, this YouTube title to Bored Ape Holder, interviewed Bored Ape Holder, right? I don't own one, unfortunately, as much as I wanted that to be a cool moment. I don't.
Yeah.
But that's just the reality of what Bored Ape is. And it would get more views. It would get more views. More people would reach out to me. More people would, your channel would, it would help your channel because you just interviewed a Bored Ape Holder. Like, that's the utility. It's for anyone who's in the business space and knows how to leverage social status. There's enormous utility in owning a Bored Ape. But yeah, man. So that's the overall idea there. I wouldn't encourage people to get too caught up in techniques of being NFT investors. Just get involved. Get involved. Invest money you can afford to lose, and focus on learning.
You make more money by building. There's no doubt about that.
100%.
Before we get into rapid fire questions, I don't want you to get a parking ticket.
No, it's fine. We'll write that on.
Let's talk about the agency. And I got a very biased question because running an agency myself, I'm just genuinely intrigued.
Yep.
It's clear that you went through a period where you realized specialization was very important to make you unique and give you margin. I mean, we went through a period like a lot of people where you go, we'll do anything for anyone at any price, anywhere, anytime, all that shit. How, not so much how did it impact your selection criteria, but how has it made your business scarcer? And are you getting more people that come to you than you can accept? Or is it a matter of when you open up, people will identify you as a specialist, so therefore you get hit with inbound queries.
Yeah.
How do you look at all that for the agency?
Well, I mean, look, it's going to be, I can only talk about ourselves, going to be different for anyone who decides to specialize in something. So for us, we decided to completely go, all right, no more lead gen, no more anything that doesn't have to do with being an e-commerce growth partner. We want to be the partner agency that an e-commerce brand can come and they can get an account strategist who's going to pay attention to their entire brand, organic and paid from a consulting point of view. But the services that we'll execute is like Facebook and Instagram ads, Pinterest, TikTok, Google, search, shopping. And we're more focused on not just what ROI one platform's getting, but how can we combine spend across platforms to return the best possible ROI. That we want it to be a full-scale e-commerce growth solution. And when you're offering that many services, you have to charge a certain retainer. You can't charge $1,000 a month. So our minimum retainer is like our standard retainer is $3,500 a month. So if I want to work with a business and I'm saying you have to pay us, our investment is $3,500 a month. You're essentially getting, an entire pod that's going to be working on an account, a dedicated strategist, a graphics designer, a video editor, someone to write ad copy, a Facebook ad specialist, people executing your Google ads. It's an intensive service. So now we had to make sure that our criteria for our clients had to be specific. Is $3,500 a lot? Well, it depends who you ask. If you ask a startup business that's making $10,000 a month in online sales, it's a lot, right? But if you ask that business that has 2 full-time marketing employees paying a salary of like $80,000 a year each, that's a very cheap retainer. Or if you ask that business that's spending $50,000 a month in ads, $3,500 is nothing. So obviously our retainer is not just 3.5, it's 3.5 plus a percentage of spend when we hit certain amounts. So we've got a scalable and performance focused solution. But what happened over time was when we went, okay, this is what we want to offer to clients, we then made it very clear who our clients need to be. And then if we get these clients who come in, it's a win-win solution. So like we had a client who came to us when they were on $100,000 a month, right? They're not a startup. That's our ideal client. You come at $100,000 a month, in 2 months, we increased their revenue by $140,000. So we added an additional $1.5 million in annual revenue to them just by revamping their entire strategy because they were working with like some freelancers to get to that level. That's the type of impact that we want to have with businesses we work with.
Yeah.
So in terms of inquiries, because we don't want to because if I open up our inquiry form to just be anyone, we'll get everyone inquiring, from startup brands, people who haven't launched yet, from businesses that are very at the beginning, at the startup phase. I don't want to waste their time. I also don't want to waste my time.
Yeah.
So I have established a system in our business in terms of inquiries. To answer your question, in terms of inquiries, we're only getting inquiries from people we want to work with, because to make it through our contact form, you have to actually qualify. Your revenue you have to qualify revenue wise, and you literally have to tick a box that says, I am willing to invest $3,500 plus this much in my minimum of, $300 a day in ad spend if you guys can produce results. And that would turn away a lot of people, but it does not scare the type of customer we want to attract. The type of customer we want to attract is tick that with their eyes closed, because it's nothing in their world compared to what other agencies are charging for our same retainer is like upwards of $6,000 plus as a base. So, but because we take a percentage of spend and we're so confident in terms of performance, we can start off a little low while providing such an intense services, because if we partner up with the right type of client, we know we're going to be able to scale their ad spend, which benefits them and it benefits us, because we end up getting like high value clients.
And so how do you open more capacity? Is it if a customer leaves, or do you hire a new staff member and go, okay, we've got room for...
Oof, it's a technical question. I have my own systems on how I do that. What I do is, I know that, okay, so I know how many clients one strategist can handle. Well, actually, I put a goal. I want each strategist to handle X amount of clients. I don't want them managing 30. I want them managing 7 clients max, so that they really pay a lot of attention. Just as an example, right? So then I'll go, all right, well, how much am I paying the strategist? This much. What percent of their salary do I want that to be of my total revenue? And then I'll figure out how much revenue each strategist needs to generate a month. And then I will figure out, then I've got like let's say I go, okay, then I need seven clients to achieve that at X amount of a retainer per month. Then when I get to a point where my strategists are completely full, and then we have clients that come that are like we get an overflow of clients, that's when I start to go, all right, it's time to hire. And sometimes we are hiring before this person is profitable. It's just the nature of the business.
Yeah.
That's a technical answer for you, because I know that's probably something very relatable, but I'll hire in advance. You have to. Sometimes you've got to hire, not be profitable in the short term to load this person up with customers.
Yeah, it's
clients.
like I remember reading a book and it was very topical about this. It was like talking about how the agency business is a capacity business. It's like being in the airline business in a way, because you've got to allocate certain things to certain people and certain types of customers to certain people as well. But you only ever have so much you can fit within this metal tube.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And in this case, the metal tube is your office.
Yeah.
The people you have in it.
Yeah.
So it's always just an intriguing question I've always thought about with anyone who runs. We get a lot of agency owners in, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What kind of answers have you heard with other people?
I like what you said. Some people give us real vague answers.
Yeah.
They can't give us one. Some people don't even think about it. It's just a constant mess of trying to balance it.
Yeah. Oh, I've got it wrong before. That's why. I'll just hire because I think we need it. Like, I used to hire because my team would be like, oh my God, we're so busy. I'd be like, all right, time to hire. Now I actually have my numbers like laid out. I know what we need. Like, we've got certain systems in place where, you know, another strategy could be like, if I've got 2 strategists and they've got 7 clients and 7 clients, and we get another 4 clients coming in. So I don't have to, instead of like, let's say I want one more client, I don't hire someone for that one client. They may overload for a short period of time, 2 extra clients each, with some added support from me or from other members of the team, to then have half that revenue ready for when I employ someone. Like, there's so many different strategies that you can take, but I'm also not the best example right now as far as to take advice from, because I'd probably talk to someone who's grown their team to like 80 to 100 staff. You know, we haven't cracked past 10 staff yet, so I'll have a better answer hopefully in a few years' time when you interview again, and I've got like a team of 30-40 people.
Let's jump into some quick rapid fire questions for you.
Go.
What is your morning and evening routine look like at the moment?
I wake up at around 5:30, 5:45. I'm up. I get to the gym. I work out, and then I come home, and I'll have something really, really light to eat. I'm not a big breakfast person. And then I'll get straight to the office and I'll work. Mm-hmm. And then on days which I've got BJJ, I'll also do BJJ right after work. And then, and then I'll either go chill with my cousins, hang out with my partner, things like that, which I'll do.
Any particular movies, shows, docos?
Peaky Blinders, man. Peaky Blinders was awesome.
What season are you up to?
I finished it. I binged it in Lebanon because I got COVID in Lebanon.
Jesus.
Yeah, I got COVID and I was in a hotel for 6 days, so I binged it there.
I fucking love that show.
Yeah, it's so good. Is there a recent season that's coming out?
It's coming out. I think it's April.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you know the actress who's
she died.
She died.
So sad. Yeah. The girl played Molly, right?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So sad.
I think that's why it'll be season 6. Both actors, the cost for them per season is probably outrageous now. Like Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy are crazy expensive. Their rates would be crazy expensive.
Think about that. Tom Hardy, man, he's an incredible actor.
He's a brilliant supporting actor.
Yeah, he is.
Steals shows all the time.
He is, yeah.
Okay, so that's what you're watching at the moment. I like it. Interesting. All right, last question for you. Best purchase. Could be in the last 12 months, could be in the last 5 years. I don't care.
That I've ever made?
Under $250.
Oh, I was going to say my car.
Okay.
It's my favorite thing I've ever bought. But under $250, probably like, are we going in terms of what's bought me my best like ROI? Or?
Whatever you want, man. Enjoyment, ROI, intrigue, could be any.
Buying Think and Grow Rich when I was like 17.
Okay. Yeah, right.
It was probably my best best thing I've ever spent. Under
$10, $15 book.
Under $20. Think and Grow Rich is the book responsible for the most millionaires out of any book around the entire world.
Yeah, right.
It's just a game changer. But I feel like it was just such a like motivational answer. Like what's actually under $250? I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I think Think and Grow Rich is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Like
I'm thinking like there's a piece of jewelry or something that I've bought or shoes. No. It's all right. We'll just go with the book. A notebook as well. Like a notebook is, I did every step of progress I made was burning through notebooks. I came up with LGT on a notebook, and I still have that notebook. Like the first time I ever wrote it out.
Let's grow together.
Yeah, just writing. I think writing is so important. A notebook, I think, can grow rich.
A good notebook and a good pen does not go astray.
No,
I agree with that. Leo, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Probably best place to find me, what I'm getting up to personally, is on my Instagram. So at Leo Alhalabi. And our, as far as agency goes, at LGT Digital or lgtdigital.com.au.
Okay. We'll make sure we link all that. But
thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me on.
No worries. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. If you liked it, do subscribe. And of course, like it on YouTube if you're watching as well. We'd really appreciate that. For audio, if you've not already listening on your podcast app, you can search for it on any good app, including Spotify, Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. For video, if you're not watching, you can search Uncommon Podcast on YouTube. It's the first one that appears every single time. For behind the scenes, do follow us on Instagram and TikTok. It's at uncommon_show. But until next time, thanks for tuning in.